atWork Australia would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands and pay our respect to elders past and present. This podcast is being recorded in the southwest and Western Australia, which is land of the Noongar people. We'd also like to pay our respects and acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands from wherever you may be listening from. Hello and welcome everyone to another episode of Candid Conversations with Shaun. My guest in this episode, Shane, he has made some incredible changes in his life, and I really enjoy hearing how he's had such a positive experience with atWork Australia and how the support he has received has been absolutely life-changing for him. He speaks so openly and honestly about his journey, the challenges he's faced in his life, and how now, with our support, he's been able to return to the workforce. So tune in, and I really hope you enjoyed this episode. Thank you so much, mate, for taking the time to come in and have a bit of a chat with me about your journey and experience with atWork Australia, and especially at the end of the week on a Friday afternoon.
I appreciate the invite.
No worries. I'd heard a bit about your story and thought it would be a story worth sharing. We always like to be able to highlight people who've had such a positive experience and really be able to highlight your success that you've had and been able to return to work and find meaningful employment.
Yeah, no, that's great.
And so our audience can get to know you a little bit. Do you mind sharing a bit about your employment history and what led you to needing support from atWork Australia to be able to find employment?
Yeah, definitely. So I studied for a real long time. I mean, I've been using computers since I was very young, and that's what I kept doing after TAFE and private colleges. I never had the confidence to sort of go out on my own. I'd, fix computers and phones for friends and family, but I always found myself laboring. So it was kind of like I was never doing what I wanted to do, what I was good at doing. I was doing that sort of to keep my morale up on the side, get a little bit of money while I was doing, the mundane heavy lifting, et cetera, et cetera. That has been my life pretty much. I'm 43 now, and instead of using my brain, I use my labor to make money. It always left me feeling like I wasn't fulfilling my
Potential.
potential. That's right. So it was almost like self-sabotaging. I knew I could do something more, but I chose to do something that was like physically for me, it's easy. I don't mind working hard. I don't mind sweating. I don't mind things being heavy. So for me, that was easy. And then at the end of the day, I'd, sort of kick myself because I wasn't using my potential. And so it was a cycle. And after so long of feeling crappy every day when you get home from work, I resorted to substance abuse as a coping mechanism. And that led me every which way except forward. I'm sure you would guess where that led me. And I found myself with atWork recently it was pure luck. I could have been sent anywhere, and they gave me a choice of, I think it was 3 providers, and I hadn't heard of atWork Australia, so I gave them a go, and it's gotten me where I am now.
Mate, I just want to go back and say that there's so many people that have dreams and aspirations to want to be able to go out on their own and take that leap of faith, but for whatever reason, they don't have that courage to do that. So you're definitely not alone in that boat. Sometimes I guess it can be easier just to stick to what we know, something that's going to bring in the guaranteed paycheck every week. And yeah, mate, you're definitely not alone in that situation because there's so many people that have that dream but don't end up following through on it.
I think prove it to yourself first and foremost, but doing the work, answering the phones, pick up and deliver, like whatever the profession is that someone chooses to do. In my case, it was IT. The actual work, obviously, for my skill set, was not difficult, and it was only time consuming because you had to wait for the computer or the phone or the thing to do its thing. The actual work was easy, but it felt like I needed someone there just to pick up the slack. Can you pick up the phone? Can you take the computer to that customer? So where I find it difficult for myself, and I think it would be for a lot of other people, is that you do need support. Through my trial and error, it was difficult to do it on my own. And if you made a mistake or if you missed a deadline, you're the only one picking up the slack. So the support, whether it's someone that works with you or even just someone that you talk to at the end of the day, if you don't have that support, it makes it really difficult. You're high-fiving yourself when you achieve something, and you're the one picking up the pieces when something messes up. So the support and just having someone there.
I guess it would be good to be able to have someone to be able to share those highs and lows with, and I guess also people that you can celebrate the wins with, and also have someone there who can motivate you, keep you accountable, and someone you can work with towards that shared goal.
Yep.
And I believe before you come to atWork Australia, you were in steady employment in the earth moving industry. Is that why you left that role? It wasn't satisfying your needs and you wanted to try something else?
Not really. I came out of a relationship. The work was amazing. Earth moving was good. It was honest work. It was hard work. And seeing what after the work that we had done, what pops up in its place when we're finished is like people's houses. There's a new supermarket or shopping center. It was to see that we laid the foundations for something to be built on. It was rewarding. But I jumped into a relationship, which in hindsight I shouldn't have. I was desperate at the time and it was unfair on her. I don't think I was ever interested. And the coward that I was used alcohol to self-destruct. So then instead of respecting her enough to say, look, I'm not happy, I don't want this, or, I'm sorry I lied or whatever, I hid behind alcohol to use that as the excuse for her to tell me to leave.
So instead of you speaking up and saying that you wanted to leave, you gave her a reason to leave.
Yeah.
I guess then you didn't need to make that tough decision yourself.
Yeah. I didn't have to. Yeah, it was a move. In these last 6 months that I've been employed again and back at the gym and all that sort of stuff, I've learned my pattern of behavior in the past has always been the same, which is I think I know what I want. I go and do it, but I don't have the backbone to say, look, sorry, let's not waste each other's time. I'm not happy. Let's go our separate ways. I will hide behind substances and use that as an excuse or, give them a reason to. It was cowardice. It was, yeah,
So you started abusing substances, which then you do things which then forces people away from you.
yeah, it took me a really long time to learn that's what I do.
And I was going to say, do you think one of the first steps in being able to overcome this is being able to recognize that that is the issue?
Yeah, definitely. When I first lost that job, I moved from Denmark down near Albany back to Mandurah. And I don't exaggerate this, I pretty much just laid in bed for 14 months. I put on a heap of weight. Honestly, my hygiene was disgusting.
So what would you do every day?
Nothing, absolutely nothing.
Would you watch TV or order fast food, or would you just lay there?
Yeah, just lay there, scroll my phone for a bit, maybe play video games. But getting out of bed was just not my prerogative, not at all.
Would you go to the grocery shops or would you have things delivered?
I would go, but it was few and far between. I wouldn't say I rationed, but if the only things that were in the cupboard was sardines, I'd eat sardines before I went to the groceries again. It was bad.
And were you living by yourself at this point?
Yeah, yeah. The only time I would make myself presentable was when I had a one-on-one at the atWork office. It was like my only social interaction besides maybe on the video game or whatever. It was my only human contact was when I was going to atWork.
So you'd pretty much cut yourself off from the world. And how does that then impact your mental health?
My family sort of fell apart early on in life. So, and I was an only child. Well, I had half brothers, but they moved away really early on. I had twin sisters, but they passed away.
I'm sorry to hear that, mate.
I appreciate it. So when I say only child, I wasn't, but that's how my life ended up. I was an only child. So, every Christmas, only child. Birthday, fair enough, you might have a birthday party and friends come over, but, you're the only child. And so when dad stopped coming back, he was fly in, fly out from overseas and then So for a long time, it was just me and mum. And to be honest with you, Shaun, I've actually been in jail twice. And so people were like, "How was jail?" And it's like, I was an only child, bedroom and the backyard, that was my thing, or the beach or whatever. But so those four walls, I'm used to entertaining myself or enjoying my own company. So I've been able to do that for quite a long time. So after this split and the unemployment and the last, year and a half laying in bed, it's not that much for me personally. I don't think it's healthy, but for me, I can ride out the day after day.
So it's like you went back to your prison mindset.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The same four walls, same roof, same light fitting.
And feel free not to answer this next question, but do you mind sharing why you ended up in prison?
Yeah, I have quite a long history of assaulting police officers. And so when it first started, it wasn't mandatory jail. And I kept up that behavior. And it just so happened I did it again at the same time as when they brought in mandatory. So that was my first time. And then again, my pattern of behavior, not happy in a relationship. I get on the substances. I go out. First person I sort of interact with is the police, and things escalate due to my reaction. They're doing their job, and one thing leads to another. And
You revert to violence.
yeah, well, when I first started to think about why I sort of use them as a punching bag, and I don't use that in a derogatory term, it's more like me venting, and they have force options, they have backup, they have the ability to put me in a cage. And after my dad left, it was kind of like I had no role models, no discipline, there was no routine, and it was kind of like whatever I had pent up, it was like they were the only people I was going to lose against. And I'm not talking about just fighting big people. I knew I was going to lose. So it was like, it was almost, instead of cutting myself,
Yeah, okay.
I knew I was going to get slammed on the ground. I knew before I did it.
But you still did it anyway.
Still did it, yeah, because I don't want to cut myself because that hurt. But in the moment when you're full of adrenaline and anger and substances, just a little bit easier to let go.
And what would you think in the morning once all the substances have worn off?
What would I think?
Yeah,
I know how much it would hurt my mum, how, she's done the best with what she had. She's a great person. She's a carer for the elderly. She's an amazing person. And it felt like more than, oh my God, my freedom's taken away. It's like I pretty much just threw everything my mum's done for me in her face. I didn't do jail alone. She was there with me.
your actions have an impact on others as well. And I guess you can now realize that.
Yeah, I didn't just hurt the police officer. I have a mother that still had to pay bills, still had to go to work, still had to go grocery shopping. She still had to do that and see people when they ask, "Where's your son?" All those things. My mum's not a liar. She doesn't lie about things. So telling her little whatever she had to say, even that was, yeah, just went against everything that she is.
It's not just impacting you, but it's also impacting your family. And what was the turning point for you? What was it that made it all click and you said to yourself, all right, something needs to change?
So after the breakup, this most recent one, I was moving back to Mandurah and I didn't have time to pack up my stuff. I was, I'd made it quite clear that, I had to get out there and then we were over. So I hadn't packed up my stuff. I'd managed to go down and buy a bottle of vodka. Didn't pack any of my stuff, but I could get vodka. And then on the way home, way back to Mandurah, I went from feeling sorry for myself, drunk driving, to in a ditch on the roof with a ambulance helicopter in the middle of the highway coming to pick me up. While they were working on me on the gravel on the side of the road, the tree that I wrapped my car around fell at my feet where I was laying. So, I didn't just survive the car accident, I could have also been crushed by that tree. And that's why, I isolated in my room. It was like time to detox. It was time to spend some time, not so much being woe is me, my life's fallen apart again, and it's all my fault. It was more like this is my last chance. There's the amount of times I've risked it and done silly things and ended up like this. I survived twice. And what was most not embarrassing, Shaun, but what woke me up, what sobered me up, is when that helicopter landed and the ambulance rocked up. The same men that my father when I was young who he did SES with and Ambo and Fiery and worked with. Those men that were doing it when Dad was still around, they were the ones in the ambulance. And it was like, like
They knew you.
30 something years later, these men that I knew when I was younger are here saving my life,
Yeah, small world, isn't it?
tiny, tiny. So it woke me up. Also, when I was stumbling around the highway, it was on the ridge of a hill and I was in the middle of the road. The trailer was facing the wrong way on the wrong side of the road, snapped off my four-wheel drive. I turned around and saw, because my mum was following me. And when I turned around and saw her face when she saw me, it was like, how many more times can I do this before I literally break her heart?
What were your injuries at that time?
I walked away without a scratch. And that's another thing, Sean, is the gully that I went into and the tree that was on the wrong side of the road.
Yep.
So, here I am being thankful that I didn't hurt myself. I'm more thankful and grateful that I didn't hurt anybody else. If it was only me, then it was my mistake, my bad. I have to suffer the consequences. But if I had have hurt somebody else, I wouldn't live with myself.
It would be hard to.
Yeah, it wouldn't be fair if I'm like, oh my God, I can't deal with the guilt. The families and the friends of the person I may have hurt, they have to live on with that just because I was having a bad day and couldn't cope.
I guess it was a hard reality check and what you needed to snap yourself back into gear. Unfortunately, that's what it took to get you back on track.
Yeah, it was kind of like one of those moments where, in the movies where they zoom in from like outer space and you can see the Earth and then it's like clouds and country and then it zooms in on one little person. It was almost like the reverse, like this world that seems to revolve around each and every one of us. Like I saw in that moment that every step away from myself, outer with a broader view, the more my decisions can impact other people. And it starts in my own backyard, with my mom. And then if I'd have crashed that car into somebody else,
I guess it then impacts their family, their friends, and their community.
and the people that come to clean up the mess, no one wants to see that.
I'm sure the things that they see stay with them for their whole lives.
Yeah, 100%. I bet it does. It woke me up.
And I guess moving forward from that, you said throughout those time or those 14 months when you were locked away in your bedroom, you'd still engage with atWork Australia, and that was the only time you'd leave the house.
It was so like I said, I had no interaction. It was only started off with Louise at the Mandurah office. And I'm sure I put on a brave face and, a nice shirt, but I know she's not silly. And she didn't treat me like, I know you've only climbed out of bed and put your makeup on and come
Yeah.
looking pretty. And she always took the time, whether it was a phone call on a day where I didn't have an appointment and I just needed someone to say hi to. I'm sure I chewed into other people's time, but when I'd come in, every little thing that I said I'd done, whether it's like, oh, you never guess what, I sort of went out, I done the dishes today. Like a little step, she made it feel like it was an achievement. It was better than yesterday. Like don't do too much. When you're ready, do something. And it got me thinking that I don't need to make massive changes. I just needed to make consistent changes.
What was the turning point with them when you said, "All right, I'm ready. It's time to return to work"?
So coming to atWork, and I've been to quite a few, and nothing against any of the others, but I felt when I went into the Mandurah office, I was always greeted with a friendly, attentive, empathetic face. Like I just, like just wait a sec, Louise will be with you. And so Louise helped me feel proud of myself again, just with helping me celebrate the little steps I made from where I was to where I am now. Every little step was an achievement, a pat on the back, keep it up. Even if I lapsed or if, I didn't feel like, it's like I was taking steps backwards. Yeah, Louise gave me these, I don't know, I just felt like she believed in me, which sort of it helped me get out of my cocoon and start believing myself again as well. And just one day, like, she put me in touch with, is it Allied Health Services, your in-house?
Yeah, we have our in-house Des Allied Health Services.
Yeah, so it was Louise that put me on to the Allied Health Services, and I spoke with a woman named Marie, and she somehow managed to get my time with her extended. So it was almost like he's almost there. He just needs a little bit more work. And they organized a few more sessions. And by the end of it, it was like, it just one day, it just felt like it's time. It wasn't like a light bulb moment. I just, no, today's the day. We need to start looking for work. And it was all those little steps, those building blocks that, yeah, instead of me hiding in my room, I could see over the fence that I've put myself behind.
And you could start to see a brighter future and that there's a possibility for you to be able to return to work.
Yeah, yeah. I felt it in the first week of work. I got back into it and I worked the way I was before I sort of locked myself away, and it hurt. It hurt a lot. They actually doubted whether I'd make it through the first week. And then now it's like I've lost 12 kilos. I'm back at the gym. I'm eating better. Everything's changed.
Sounds like you're living a much happier and healthier lifestyle now.
Much happier. Oh, through the time that I was with Louise, a lot of, and same with Marie at the health services. I got to pay bills. Like forget my mental health, forget whether I'm ready. I need money. I need to make money. That's what's important here. There's bills to pay. There's a roof to keep over our head. Yada yada. And they're like, yeah, that's fair, but are you ready? And it gave me the opportunity to reflect. And as important as all those things are, I also realized at the time when they asked, they weren't saying, no, you're not ready, or yes, you are. They said, do you think you are? And I think about it, I would have not been ready. I would have tried. I would have done my same old pattern of behavior, self-destructed, been fired, be back to old me.
The circle would have repeated.
Yeah, it would have, 100%. If, like other places that I have been to, I would have been pushed out into the workforce and I would have failed. 100% I would have failed. And when I was, naively confident that money is all that matters and I need to get started now, Louise and Marie's patience with me let me figure out for myself that I wasn't ready. It only took like another 4 more weeks. And now, like I think I missed one day of work for a dentist and a doctor appointment, and it was my daughter's birthday. So I've missed 2 days of work, and every other day I'm up before my alarms. They say overtime. I'm doing overtime.
Sometimes you just have to wait for the right time. You can't rush the process. You need to be able to wait until you're ready, both physically and mentally, to give yourself the best success at being able to return to work. And how does it feel to be back at work now? I guess mentally, physically, you must be feeling so much better.
Yeah, I am, Sean. It's the first time in a long time I've been up before alarms. I literally spend a year and a half just waiting to go back to sleep. Wake up late, stay up late, wake up late, stay up late. So it was just, watching days fly by. And then now I think I said at the start, I'm doing thousands and thousands of steps. I'm doing kilometers each week. And at the end of the day, when I do finally sit down, it's like I'm proud that I've come so far.
You should be. You've come a really long way. You should be really proud of yourself.
And I appreciate that too. And I find a little bit of solace in knowing it took what I've been through, what I've done, what I've learned to get to where I am now. I had lots of opportunities. I had lots of potential. In the past, I've always thrown it away. And now I'm at a good company with good people, making good money, and atWork supported me. It could have been over. It was almost over. And then with atWork Australia, and from there it just started going up and up to where I am now. It's almost as if my whole past hadn't happened. That's how it feels. Obviously, it has. I've hit the ground running, and it's just like I've been, on cruise control this whole time. And they check in with me every now and again, and it's just nothing but positivity. But the thing is, you have to want that change, Sean. They don't do it for you; they'll help you.
You can't force people to change or to want to do something, and you can't help someone until they're in a position where they're ready to be able to accept the help and they're ready to be able to make those changes for themselves.
You can't ask for help if you're not going to be honest either.
Exactly. Yep.
It's not the help that you need if you're not honest. If you can say, look, I've been sleeping in for 14 months, I've got to work on myself. If you don't say that and they start setting appointments for 8 o'clock in the morning, you're always going to miss them. It's something you have to, it's just like slowly conditioning yourself through the desire to want to change and make things better.
It's about taking small steps to be able to get to the end result.
Yeah, it's consistent steps. It's not one big massive change. I thought it was like I need to go and get money. That's what I thought. One big change, go and get money. But it's not. It's all those steps of eating better, like having a better sleep routine,
Yep.
being honest when your job coach asks, what are you good at? What do you want to do? Like, are you willing to travel? Like, if you don't want to sit on public transport or can't afford to drive your car and you just need something, you have to say it. You can't go to the doctor and be like, my back hurts when it's your front.
Yeah, of course, honesty is the best method and will help you be able to move forward. What would your advice be to other people who might be trying to overcome their own barriers to employment?
I think they have to remember that they are good at things. They are, better than other people at things. They have to believe in themselves again. They have to see if they have a pattern of behavior, and I'm only speaking on my own out of my own experience. If you know things about yourself that are holding you back only because it's comfortable and easy and because it's difficult to change, but you have to want to. That's pretty much it. You have to want to. If you don't want to yet, don't, because it's not going to work out for anybody if you're not ready to make that change or improve things. That I don't want to say don't try, but if you're not ready to do it, don't, because it won't work. You have to really want to, and then once you do want to, believe in yourself, because you can. We all can do it. Honestly, if, like, I don't want it to be cliche, but if I can do it, everybody can.
Sometimes people just need to be able to realize that for themselves and be able to want to make that change and have their own motivation. We can offer the support and guidance, but the main driver needs to come from within.
Yeah, yeah. And you have to be realistic. Like, I spent a lot of time with computers and everything tech, but I chose to do laboring. If your time has passed for what you were good at, find something you can still do. I'm 43, and the guys I work with, they're in their 30s, and I don't get up off the ground as quick as I used to and that, but I'll shovel for hours. You have to find what you're willing to do, like to be a part of a team, or, where you're working, you have to be able to provide value, be a valuable employee. So there's no point shooting too high if you can't pull it off, but don't shoot yourself in the foot and go too low, because you're going to hate it. Like, you have to be real with yourself. You have to be honest with your job coach, for one. And I think that's the most important thing.
And what would you say to employers who might be a bit hesitant to employ someone who has had a significant gap on their resume or big gap in employment?
I would say to an employer, kind of like, don't forget you were green once too. When people are successful, most of the time they've been their whole life. They've got a whole career. That's why they're the boss. But not everyone has that opportunity. Some people are coming from, you don't know what was on the other side of that door. But if they show up, give you a commitment to be a valuable member of your business or your company or whatever, you have to believe people will be who they are. And it doesn't take long. I mean, you're not at the top if you can't see through the, people that fake it till they make it. You know what you want from an employee. If they've had a gap in their resume, there may be something going on behind the scenes. And if they're showing up to a job interview now, obviously they've done some work on themselves to get back into a position where they want to contribute to society and earn a paycheck. It's a gap. It could be anything. And not everyone sort of just bounces back the same as you do.
I guess everyone's life journey is different.
Definitely, definitely. I mean, when I was younger, obviously I was a bit more naive, but as you get older and everyone's going through something, some of the things we're all going through is the same, but you don't know what was on the other side of that door that person came through. So I think we need to be a bit more understanding of each other, realizing that everything doesn't revolve around us. I took a day off for the doctor the other day, and first thing in the morning, 8 o'clock at the doctor, there was an elderly couple. She was already out of the car, but old mate was struggling a bit, and it was blowing a gale. So you have to empathize a little bit. That if either one of them had opened that doctor's door and the wind blew, they could have ended up hurt. So just being a little bit selfless. I just think we have to consider each other a little bit more, and I think we'd all find it a little easier.
If we can treat everyone with kindness and look out for everyone and treat each other with respect, the world would be a much better place.
Definitely would, Shawno.
Mate, thank you so much for taking the time on this Friday afternoon to come and speak with me about your journey and your experience with atWork Australia. I really enjoyed hearing about your journey, and I wish you every bit of success going forward, and I hope you're able to achieve all your goals in the future.
Yeah, thanks, Shaun. I appreciate the invite, mate.
Thank you very much, mate. Really appreciate you taking the time. Thanks everyone for joining us for another episode of Candid Conversations with Shaun. I really hope you enjoyed my conversation with Shane. Like I mentioned in the beginning, the journey he has been on, the changes he has made in his life, the effort he has put in to work on himself to be able to get back to work and start living a happier and healthier life. I do take my hat off to him because he has really come a long way in his journey. As always, to find out more information about anything we've discussed in this episode, please refer to the links in the show notes. If you enjoyed this episode, if you're enjoying all our episodes, please be sure to like and subscribe.